Thank you. Before we begin, there's an omission in the agenda. And at our last meeting, we voted to table the appointment of District 8. So tonight, yes, we are going to move that to the first item on the list. So on that item, we have the appointment of District 8 Budget Committee, and Doug Erickson is here. And before we begin, if anybody would like to ask Doug any questions, if you don't know Doug, I know him quite well. He's been in town politics for years, and appreciate you serving. So if anybody would like to ask any questions of Doug before we have a motion, that would be great. If there isn't, I'll wait a motion.
So moved.
To
approve Doug Erickson is.
It's just a lazy motion when you say so moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, so moved and seconded to appoint Doug Erickson to District 8 Budget Committee seat. Just so that you know, when we approve this, Doug, you can participate with questions, but you can't vote until you have been sworn in by Dedimus Justice. So your vote has to be held until the Dedimus Justice swears you in.
Where would I go find one?
Don't ask me, that's not my job. I come here to run the meeting, unfortunately.
And Donaldine DiNapoli at Camden National Bank is a Dedimus Justice. Or Sheriff. Or Pat. And he's the
Oh, no, I'll just come see it here tomorrow.
Even better, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Apparently not. Commissioners? You have to approve?
I would, I'm not exactly sure what time it is, but I will call the Thursday, November 5th, 2024 meeting of Knox County Commission to order. And I guess the first item on our agenda, as it's been moved up, is to approve the appointment of the District 8 Budget Committee seat.
So moved.
And I'll second it. Any discussion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? 2 in favor, none opposed.
Just to be official, I did take that ahead of time. This should have been on the agenda. I will call the meeting to order, so we're now live. Next item is the public comment. Is there any public comment to come before this body? No one's raising their hand. Apparently not. We'll move on to the next item. Is presentation. Meredith Batley, Executive Director of the Knox Clinic, will provide a presentation on location change from Thomaston to Rockland for the ARPA project.
Good evening. I'm Meredith Batley, as mentioned, and I'm the Executive Director of the Knox Clinic, and I've been there for 15 years. We are thrilled to share that we have purchased the Buck building, which is actually just adjacent. It's where the clinic has been for 25 years, and we are now heading into our next big adventure to create a community health center for the region. I personally am biased and feel like this is one of the most exciting projects we have going locally to provide medical, dental, and mental health services to all in the community in an integrated health care center. And I put together that big report. Hopefully folks got a chance to read over it. I'd love to, rather than repeating all of the information in there, just open it up to questions. Were there any questions that came through? The original project was for Thomaston. We're now in downtown Rockland. The mission of the project is unchanged. We'll just get to move a lot faster than originally anticipated. That's what we're excited about.
Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
What caused you to move from Thomaston to Rockland?
Sure. I'll be sure that you have all of the reports and everything. Essentially, the Thomaston property, while ideal from many perspectives, was going to be a new build. So we would have to put together a pretty substantial amount of money to to build a building from the ground up, which is going to take several years and a lot of resources. We think we could do it, but we had the sudden and unanticipated option to buy the building that we're already in, which is for many advantages to the Rockland community. We're right here in the heart of downtown Rockland, but also people know where we are. I mean, this is where they're used to coming for us, so it's not a location change. But first and foremost, it's less expensive and much faster for us to open up our doors. We're anticipating having a primary care practice open hopefully early this next year, which is years earlier than we would have been able to do if we had to buy and build a whole new building.
I've also read in the paper that while you were buying the Bach building, the city of Rockland was also going to be buying it.
Yes.
Where does that stand? What's happening there?
Sure. There was a moment in time when we realized that the building that we're in currently, the Bach building, when we were renting, that it was going to, the building had been purchased by a developer, and that they were not interested in having us stay long term, that we wouldn't be able to stay there as long as it was going to take us to build the new building. And so we had to look for some alternative options, a temporary home for us, and one of the places we looked at was actually purchasing the city hall building. And so there was the possibility of maybe making a swap. But when the opportunity came to actually buy the Bach building, where we are now, that was the clear choice, and so we paused all conversations with City Hall. So that's where some of that generated from. City Hall was interested in purchasing the Bach building as well.
Okay. When you were in Thomaston, there was a contract that was signed.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that contract was that you were going to provide the town with a business plan or business projection.
Sure.
That was never turned in.
Mm-hmm.
Has one been prepared now?
We did actually do a big feasibility study and a market analysis as well, so I'd be happy to share those with the community.
That's one aspect of it, but the other aspect of it, how are you going to keep your doors open? Have you made a business plan for the first and maybe third year?
Yes.
To show how you can be able to afford all this?
Mm-hmm. And it's obviously quite a bit different not needing to build a new building. So it's simplified now that we have a building that we can set up shop in already.
I was a little concerned. I went on your website and I saw that you were open one day a week, and that sort of concerned me. The other concern I had was that you were being staffed by volunteers.
Sure.
And it's great to have volunteers, but having been in that field for many years, sometimes you cannot rely on them, and so that potentially creates a problem. So my bag is that I'm trying to figure out how are you going to be able to afford all this going forward. And I haven't seen anything. I'm sorry, I'm brand new to this committee, and so I've not seen anything. But I've got a lot of questions in my own mind about how this is going to work.
Maybe it would be easiest if we sit and chat. I'm happy to dive in on some of this now. I can tell you that the website has actually just got a major overhaul, and so a lot of information that wasn't on there is now available. But we are shifting away from a volunteer model. We are opening up full time. So those are all the processes that we're in place right now. We've actually submitted to become a community health center to the federal government. We do have a bunch of grant money as well to get the building renovated and up and running. And we're also kicking off a capital campaign. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this. So yeah.
Meredith, I think what Mr. Erickson was saying, it would help, I think, everybody and also the public, if you could upload and actually share the PDF, actually these reports that you refer to, if you could just put them somewhere.
Okay.
Whether it be to the county site or your own site, and just let us know. And that way we could, instead of sit down and chat with you, we could read at least what you're referring to.
Sure.
Is that something that, say, in the next week? Or are they already there?
They're not on the website, but I'm certainly
Okay.
happy to get those out.
Well, if you could do that,
Sure.
that would.
And they reflect a Thomaston building, so
Well-
we are shifting to a newer model. So the original feasibility study showed like a $4.5 million loan. We only had to take out a $2.5 million loan. So there are pieces.
But maybe the documents that reflect that change would help.
Sure.
Thank you.
And one last question. I know Penn Bay just opened up a walk-in clinic in
Yes.
Rockland Plaza. Have you taken into consideration the potential competition that would be on you?
Sure, and that's a great question. And our goal is to be a little bit different from an urgent care center. Our goal is to take care of the whole person. And so it would be like a family doctor's office, and there will be dental and mental health services and wraparound services, connection to local resources. Long term, I would like to see optometry, vision as part of all of these services. So trying to take care of the whole person, more like a long-term care, chronic disease management, preventative care, all of those pieces, rather than that sort of episodic urgent care model that is the walk-in clinic. That's still a very busy, very valuable service, but our model's a little bit different. The community health center model has been around for decades and decades, since the Lyndon B. Johnson era, and every county in Maine has a community health center. It's just that ours is an hour and 15-minute ferry ride away. Ours is on Vinyl Haven. There's also one in Belfast. There's also one in northern Lincoln County. They're really amazing models that have been pretty well tested, so that's where that sort of financial model comes into play, where you have a sliding scale for folks paying out of pocket, and you also take insurances as part of the model. So hopefully that helps answer some of those questions.
I'll hold off on the rest until we see the area once it comes up.
Yeah.
Might answer that.
No, I'd welcome further conversations. Yeah, our founder, Dr. Paul Kleiner, is our board president as well. Paul, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, I just would like to address we were able to obtain a MedHIPA bond issue loan, and for that is why we did our market analysis, the feasibility study, and the pro forma, and I'm certain that they have the same concerns that you had as far as they're guaranteeing the loan at a state level. And the state has approved the loan via MedHIPA because they believe that we are a going concern based upon the analyses that were done. These analyses that were done were all third-party analysis. It wasn't our numbers. They provided the numbers. It was very done, as well as another one called Capital Link, which is the national firm that does the market analysis. And they took into consideration that there already was a walk-in clinic. In fact, at the time, the walk-in clinic was in the same building that we're doing. They hadn't moved over to Hanford Plaza yet. I hope that helps you.
It does. I mean, I'll give you a little bit of history on the Thomas Dean Green, which you just came into. I've worked on that for roughly 20-some-odd years. We originally had Pembrey Medical Center looking at that as a walk-in clinic. And they did their own study, and they figured that there was not going to be enough traffic for them to keep that entity going. And so I have a lot of concerns. What little I've read thus far, I'll be honest with you, my main concern is seeing how you're going to be able to afford to keep going. But maybe with all this information you're going to be giving to us, I can sit down and take a look at that, and if I have any questions, then I'll be certainly asking.
If I may just add one thing you may not know, maybe you are aware of it, is that when you're a local-like federally qualified health center, you get a preferential reimbursement for taking care of main care and Medicare. And the hospital, and I've talked recently to the leaders at the hospital, I've been on their board for 17 years, that indeed they look to us as a collaborator. And it's we're not in a competition.
We have a wonderful letter of support from the hospital administration,
Okay.
from Denise as well.
Thank you.
So the reason for your presentation tonight was to inform the Budget Committee, because the Budget Committee apparently has to vote to authorize the reassignment of those funds to Rockland instead of Thomaston. And I'm not sure what this motion needs to look like, and I'm not sure that we need to do that tonight. Is there urgency on this tonight?
If I could clarify.
For the lack of not having an administrator, it makes the chair's job very challenging.
The presentation is to explain
removing Thomaston as a subrecipient.
Yep.
When we approved the clinic, it was the clinic along with the town of Thomaston, and that's how it was presented, and that's how the contract went in place.
Yep.
We're asking you to approve moving forward, that you are approving the clinic to move forward without Thomaston. A new contract will be written for that. So 1.2 million was approved. We're just coming forward to say that, asking for approval to drop Thomaston as a subrecipient and continue forward with just Knox Clinic.
Because there are federal funds involved in this, that's my only concern, is that there's federal funds, things have to be dotted properly and crossed properly. My only question is, if one of us makes a motion to simply drop Thomaston as a subrecipient, is that going to pass muster with the federal government?
I am told yes.
You are told yes.
When the change came forward, we involved legal to say, what do we need to do at this point? What steps do we need to take? And the steps were to gain approval from the commission and the budget committee to allow it to move forward, dropping Thomaston and just being the clinic standalone.
So-
We're not changing. The project is still a viable project. The location has changed. The dollar value stays the same.
Okay, so hearing that, committee, if someone is comfortable making a motion, please do that.
I'll make that motion, as Kathy just said. Did you get that, Wendy?
To drop
To drop
Thomaston
Thomaston
as
as
a
a
subrecipient
subrecipient on the ARPA loan for 1.2 million for the Knox Clinic.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I have one quick question. What year is the ARPA funds coming from? It's not in this budget, right?
It's not in the budget at all because it's a grant. So any grants that we receive are not encompassed anywhere in the budget that you're looking at. The ARPA funds, when the clinic was approved, oh, you asked which budget is that incorporated into?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you meant budget like dollar.
It's 2022.
2022.
Okay, I'll believe that.
I think that's right.
I do have one question, and that is, are the ARPA funds, and it was a long time ago when this were awarded, are the ARPA funds that we granted, are they being used to make a capital purchase, or is it for operations?
It's all renovations and equipment.
Right. Any other questions? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? It passes. Thank you.
One abstention.
Oh, one abstention. Sorry. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And one second,
Yeah,
on
sorry.
the commission side, I will entertain a motion to drop Thomaston from the ARPA grant.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We'll do it that way. Is there any discussion?
No, I think it's a very worthwhile project that I have for a number of years. And I congratulate the efforts. Thank you.
My question, I guess this is more for Kathy, is there a timeline on when this money needs to be spent? With a lot of the other ARPA funds, there's a deadline that it needs to be committed or spent by a certain time.
It needs to be committed by the end of this year and spent by the end of 2026. Where we have a contract in place, that is the commitment. So we are encouraging people to spend the funds, but they do have a little bit of time.
Okay, so our commitment is taken care of by this. It's their commitment to spend it at that point.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? 2 in favor. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for last week. Could I have a motion?
Move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? Okay. Abstention?
And I will do the same on the commission side.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last week.
We'll second that. Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? 2 in favor, none opposed.
Okay, we're into the meat of the business now. Budget review. This is a heavy night tonight, so I would ask that, certainly we want to ask all the questions we possibly can. I would try to ask everyone not to ask redundant questions, because when you get into the sheriff's department, patrol, corrections, that takes a lot of time if we do it well. So we'll try to run through this as thoroughly as we can. First budget to review is probate, which is page 24. Julie Allen is here. Julie and Judge Emery, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you.
Not in the courtroom.
So when you get settled, if the two of you wanted to give us a quick overview of the operations and budget?
So the budget has stayed pretty much the same. Our biggest increase is in our legal fees and services for guardian ad litems, attorneys for, the term used to be incapacitated persons, but now it's respondents. It is basically an unfunded mandate. That's a law that if they're indigent and they do not wish to have a guardian, they are entitled to legal representation that if they cannot afford to pay it, we have to. Last year it was budgeted for $3,000. I believe this year we are already, well, for 2024, this year we are already probably at like $8,000. So I'm asking for $10,000 next year. I did check with Waldo County. They have $28,000 budgeted for this. We are one of the, we actually budget less than most of the counties for the appointment of attorneys or guardians ad litem. We've been fortunate that we can get settlement, bring people together and get more settlement than maybe some of the other counties which who may be more litigious. But we do have to provide these attorneys and guardians ad litem. It's required by statute, and so there we are.
Okay.
And that actually includes for minors also. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So when we're doing minor guardianships or undone guardianships.
Okay. Can you enlighten us for those of us that are not wedded into your operation? So on the wage change, your position, is it right that your position is 40 hours and the former register was not? I'm just looking at the notes.
The former register was 30 hours.
30 hours, and yours is now 40.
And I, as deputy, was 35.
Okay. But it looks to me like that is now 40 hours, and we're also adding additional hours on top of that. So kind of take us through that real quick, just so I...
Our workload has increased tremendously, especially with the brand new 2 years ago, overhaul of the probate statutes. We're actually running a much bigger caseload. We're running more complex cases. We have also taken on passports, which is bringing in income to the county, along with photo processing. We actually probably could have used more hours several years ago, but that was not my decision.
Okay.
If I could just say that in terms of the register now, the register would be working from 8 to 4. And the previous register worked from 9 to 4. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I feel that since the office is open at 8 o'clock, I'd like to have the register there who knows what's going on and can be of assistance. And so that's why that is that larger number of hours. But again, we have a lot of very involved cases, and more so than usual. I mean, I think things we all had kind of
spoiled, I hate to use that word, with COVID, but we did not have as much action. Now, you know, people, I think, who had been wanting to contest things or whatever before, not contest them during COVID and just wanted things done. Now we're ready to just come in there and contest them. So we do have a number more cases, and there's very many complex ones. A lot of minor guardianships where the children are being taken away from the parents.
Go ahead. I have a question about the overtime. Is that something you're counting on, or is that there as a reserve?
I guess it's technically there as a reserve. I had asked for 40, 35, and 35 hours, and rather than getting that, it was put forward as the 40, 30, and 30 with the reserve for overtime if needed. With our caseload, I'm betting we're going to use it.
And so, because it's overtime, are we paying more than if it were part of the regular budget?
I guess I can answer the question. Where they're in a transition year of really 3 new people and 3 new positions, we wanted to take the year to see what the business need is versus hiring people to fill 40 hours when the following year we'd only need them for 30 hours. So we provided more in the overtime line. So 2 of the employees will only be 30 hours, so it's paid out of an overtime line, but they're still at straight time until they hit 40 hours.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Tim.
Isn't the probate department fee-based? So when you have a caseload, people pay a fee for the
They
service.
pay a fee, and there are sometimes we get for example, on a guardianship, we get $100 fee. We have guardianships that have been going on for years. We are not fee-based the way, for example, the registry of deeds gets paid for every single paper that comes in. We do not.
Okay.
Cases can go on for years.
I have to tell you, you guys are up almost $50,000 for next year, and it raises my ire. You guys are normally a very inexpensive, easy vote for me. This is not an easy vote for me.
And
I'm looking at, yes, you have new people, but I'm also seeing for the first time, it looks like your fees are lower than, or budgeted to be lower than in past years. And I'm going, so is our activity, you guys are telling us the caseload is up, but I'm seeing the fee level down. So I'm questioning, is this legit?
can I explain a couple of the big fees?
Yeah, sure.
We had a couple multi-millionaires die in Knox County, and the fees were like incredible. That we received for that. So that really upped those figures.
Yeah.
If one of those people had not actually, unfortunately, died this year, we would not have made the projected revenue for this year.
Okay.
Our fees are all based on
The value
of, unfortunately, the person who dies estate. So the last few years, we had some big ones.
And in some of the cases, like you mentioned in the guardianships, the fees might be $100 is all you get, and yet we have to provide attorneys, we have to provide mediators, we have to provide all of that, and the case itself could then be, $5,000 or $6,000 for their $100 fees.
Okay.
And it's taking up our time preparing the paperwork, preparing the orders,
Right.
waiting on the public.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Okay. What's your wish?
I'll make a motion, we preliminarily approve the budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's moved second. Straw vote. All those in favor? All right. Anyone opposed? One abstention? Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies.
And just before you go,
Oh, sorry.
on the commission side, I will entertain a motion to approve the probate budget as presented.
So move.
And I'll second it. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? 2 in favor, none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Is that a 3-5?
5-3, I think.
I'm sorry. 5-4-3
5-3-1.
against.
5-3-1.
The one that's not a member, yes, I'm not counting in.
Yep.
So 8.
Okay, deeds, Madam Cole.
Good
Good evening.
I know you kind of want to keep things moving. I thought I would just talk briefly for those that maybe aren't as familiar with the deeds office. I know Doug is, seen him a lot over the years. So in the deeds office, we are responsible for recording and preserving all the land records for Knox County. So in saying that, we do liens, discharges for all the municipalities, put them on record, scan them, index them. We do State Department, stuff with the courts, probate documents. There's a lot of stuff that comes through our office. As you know, you can see that we're income and revenue for the county is pretty consistent. Each year, we do probably 400,000-ish in revenue yearly. I consistently kept my office expenditures on the pretty low side of things. This year, going into 2025, I've asked for my part-time position to be increased from 20 hours to 25 hours, which essentially just brings us back to the 105 hours that our office had last year. So what I did last year was bring myself and my deputy to 40 hours. And our third position, we dropped down to part-time. So there are no benefits as far as health insurance for that position. And even by bringing that position up to 25, it still remains as a part-time position with no health benefits. What I found this year, so looking forward to next year, is that I really can use, even though it sounds like an extra hour a day isn't that much, I really could use that just to bring that position up to speed on some stuff that has changed this year and that I know is going to make an impact on the office for next year. One of the biggest things that we've seen change is recording of electronic documents. So once COVID hit, there was a lot more electronically recorded documents that came through the office. Now it's increased even more. And with electronic recordings, they're a little more time consuming because you're looking at those images on the computer, and once you put your recording information on it, it's a pretty done deal. So it takes a little bit longer to process. Sometimes we're rejecting documents because they don't meet the recording criteria. They're out of order, the pages are upside down back. It takes a little extra time. We also have a new system that we just started that's a part of the main revenue transfer tax service. We fill out an electronic form through a site that they provided us. So it's all of the recording information, what we collected for transfer tax, which is based on the purchase price. So there's more time that we're going to need just filling out those forms alone. My part-time position has only been part-time for a year, and it's a new person. There's frustration on their part too, as they just feel like every day it's a challenge to get their work done, learn anything more that they need to know for that position. You know, I think the county, for almost 2 decades, we had the same staff. You know, it was a well-greased machine. Everybody knew just about anything and everything that could possibly be recorded in our office. So in the last 6 years, we've had a change of staff. And I think my experience in the office, I mean, I'm good at task and time management. I know what needs to be done in a day, and I know how to get it done right. So I wouldn't ask for the extra time if it wasn't necessary. And it's just bringing it back to, if you saw the amount of work that gets done in our office with 100 hours, sometimes I'm baffled when we leave, like, how did we do that? I think that when I checked yesterday, we've recorded over 8,700 documents just this year already, and that includes 1,900 deeds that require an extra form, and that's really simplifying it. You know, all of these documents are scanned, they're indexed, they're verified by another person, where not every registry gets all of their records online to be viewed by attorneys and title companies and real estate agents and the banks the next day. We get our stuff done, and we're always caught up.
I don't think you need to do much more to talk about the extra 5 hours.
Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's okay. In the interest of time, I think you're good, unless anybody has questions. So let's find out if anybody has questions of you. Anyone?
I have a question. It's more, it applies to your department, but it's more generic, cuts across other departments, and it's about health insurance. That I think every year we're told that it's budgeted at 10%, but here it's 12%, and I've noticed in other departments it's kind of not just a flat line. For instance, the DA's
I can
budget, which
answer
is
that.
nice.
It is, you're right, we do start at a 10%, but also people change. As one person leaves, a new person comes on. Someone was a single plan, they come on as a family. Someone has a change in their life, they have a child, then they're onto a family plan, so that's where you're seeing the variances.
So this would be specific to this department?
Correct. Each individual department is what they currently have for insurance, or, well, we're going through open enrollment, what they're enrolling in as of the time we're doing this budget.
And another generic question that cuts across departments is the provision for paid family leave, and I believe, Sheriff Polkey, you addressed this generically, but that's something that is new this year.
It's mandated. Everyone in the state of Maine, every employer has to account for it. It is in the budget at 1% of total cost of salary-related accounts.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions of the deeds department, the expenses? Then, if not, do we have a motion to move forward?
I'll make a motion to preliminarily approve the budget for the deeds department as presented.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Saying no, have a straw vote. All those in favor? Thank you. And one abstention. Thank you. Appreciate it, Madeline.
And from the commission, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget for any discussion?
None.
Just one question. It looks like on fees, the income is going to be down quite a bit this year, or it's projected to be down quite a bit from last year.
We're basically on the same track as we were last year, so I just always try to be kind of conservative. You know, we're kind of neck and neck with those figures, so I decided to keep it basically the same, and if we do better, we do better. We don't run in any sales or anything, so it's what comes through the office comes through the office.
But you're looking at basically the same fees as last year.
Oh, do you mean what we're revenue for fees alone?
Well, what
Yeah.
you're expecting.
Well, we break it down with
Yeah.
fees and then the transfer tax share from the county, but we're pretty much the same as we were at last year at this point, so that's why I kept it kind of in that same neighborhood.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Seeing there's none, call the vote. All those in favor? Two in favor. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Next is restorative justice. Now, did I miss something on restorative justice? It just says page 7.
It's actually page 27, the two got dropped off of the agenda.
All right. So, restorative justice, this is a reoccurring request. At least we have history going back to 22. And hello.
Hi. Yes.
So, if you would introduce yourself and give us
Yes.
a quick overview.
Okay, very quick. My name is Kathy Durgan-Rayson. I'm the Executive Director of the Restorative Justice Project. I've been in this position for 5 years. And this is a request that we've been asking for a number of years, of which I'm very appreciative that we've had your support. It is for $25,000 to help us with our programming costs that to serve Knox County residents. I wrote a little bit more information with this application just to give you a better idea of the youth, where they're coming from, that we serve, the towns where they live, also the type of charges that have been brought against them, so you have an idea of the youth that we serve, where they live, and just as you know, with our youth, there are not just the 32 youth that we've helped in the last year and a half, but the businesses that have been impacted by their offenses, the neighborhoods that have been impacted, and families and schools. So I think it's self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. But our work is an alternative approach, a preventative approach, so that the youth, the idea is hopefully they will stay out of trouble and they won't become the sheriff's problem or the DA's problem later on. And I'll say that of the 32 youth that we have served, only one returned to us for another type of criminal activity. So we've got a very good rate in terms of success, keeping kids out of trouble.
Go ahead, Nick.
I have one question. I would ask this year of all the other ones on this page. Are you on a calendar year?
We are on we're on a fiscal year of July.
Okay.
July 1st, but.
And I'm just curious how your budget, what kind of budget yours is versus your previous year. Is it up, down?
It's down, very much so. We've actually laid off staff. We're at, we now have 5 staff. There's no people don't get mileage. We are very bare bones.
So does that mean your caseload is down too?
Our caseload is up.
Caseload's down, but caseload's up, but expenses are down.
Yeah. It's not, people who work for us are working for us. We can probably keep them for 2 years. Because we can't, they have master's degrees, and we're paying less than $50,000. They stay with us for a couple of years, and then they move on, because our budget is such that we cannot keep people for a length of time. The $25,000 that we're asking for represents about 4% of our budget.
Thank you.
Now, these numbers in your report is simply Knox County.
Simply not.
Because you were associated, you also have operations in Waldo County, am I right? Or no?
Waldo, Saginaw, and Lincoln.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this is just a piece of
this is
your...
just right. But Knox County, even though we serve 4 counties, Knox County represents about a third of our youth.
That's not a good sign. And I have to say, personally, I'm a doubter of restorative justice, and I've been doing this thing for a long time, and I look at statistics and I question the value. I've always voted for it just because I guess it's not a ton of money, but it's still, I question how much diversion it does in terms of, I mean, part of this selling point was it was diverting people from being in our jails. So it was basically taking the corrections cost, supposedly reducing it, and getting these young people on better paths of their life. And you're telling me we've had 32 offenders, only one came back. So I guess there's 31 success stories in one also. Anybody else?
Is it Kathy?
Yes.
Kathy. I remember you were here last year, and it was a kind of an interesting, kind of a weird discussion about a few $1,000s. It was a little bit of an argument. So it strikes me as, this isn't a criticism of you, but more about the commissioners and the budget process total. Here we put this shows up under planning and economic development. That strikes me as ridiculous. Number 2, that the sheriff's department and in each town and each counties, and all the counties in Maine have received and are becoming part of all sorts of different federal programs about different kinds of mental health and just all sorts of different types of assistance. And I would just say to my budget committee members that possibly this really doesn't belong in this category at all. I believe that this should come out of the sheriff's budget, and it should be placed there because that's who it truly interfaces with initially. And okay, yes, it's odd and it's awkward or whatever, but there's no economic development and planning here. I mean, it really is part of our responsibility as a community to have it to be out of the sheriff's budget. I'm not asking you for an answer. I'm just asking my fellow volunteers.
We don't create the format of the budget.
To think about it. Well, we can change it. It's not.
No, we can't. We're not going to change it.
But you'd like to change things.
No, we're not going to change that. It's something you can request in the future year.
Yeah.
I'm
really glad I brought it up, though.
I think it's a very valid point. We're in the Waldo County Sheriff's budget.
Thank you.
So it's
Okay.
very
Boy,
valid.
that was difficult, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm going to, this has nothing to do with Peter's comment, but I want to put Sheriff Volkey on the spot. And your coworkers, your thoughts on how well this helps in the community, and would you be uncomfortable answering that question? And if you say yes, I would say.
Well, I can answer. The harder part is a lot of their work is juvenile justice.
Oh.
And unfortunately, that is a state problem for the most part. The DA deals with it a little more than I do. A lot of the juvenile stuff we don't deal with unless it's juvenile arrest directly within the sheriff's office. But as we've read in the paper recently, most of that problem, juvenile-wise, tends to be here in this town, specifically this city specifically. The chief has been trying to address it. Mr. Lindquist is correct, there are federal grants that are helping in some capacities, but there's not a lot in the juvenile justice side right now. So that's part of why she's here presenting, trying to ensure that we do help some of these individuals, because some are misguided. Yes, it does work. Unfortunately, there are some that it is not going to work with, but that's what the adult system is for and what I'm here to help do. So I do support it where it falls in the budget. I personally don't, it's in the sheriff, it's in corrections, so be it, but.
Okay. That's all I need. Thank you. I appreciate the answer.
Did I hear you say that it was an issue more for Rockland than the county?
Yeah, we don't experience a lot of juvenile. We have them, but not nearly as much as some of the towns specifically do.
So is that something, does this belong, should this be moved to Rockland instead of the county?
Does
Does Rockland contribute?
Rockland did last year, but they with COVID funds, but they have not this year. City of Belfast does. You'll see the towns in my request where the youth are coming from, and interestingly enough, it's not just Rockland. You'll see, there's some very rural Port Clyde, St. George, South Thomaston, Union, Warren, Owl's Head. They're everywhere.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And just to say, it's not all those referrals come through law enforcement. Some of those referrals come through social work or the HHS. So.
Right, and Department of Corrections, so juvenile justice community correctional officers. But we get a lot, schools will send us referrals as a way to try to divert kids from going into the criminal justice system. If we can divert them, then they'll call in on us. So that works too. We have referrals from Thomaston Police. We have, it's not just Rockland.
Does a juvenile have to commit some felony to get into your system?
In order for us to use Department of Corrections funding, they have to have done something that could be considered a crime, so that there could be charges. But so that's what Department of Corrections will help fund. We typically will only take those cases, but if there is a case that a kid continues to get into trouble, but it's not at the level of a crime, we might take that on.
I see. All right. Anyone else?
Is this what's the association with the district attorney's office? They don't have any connection to this?
Yeah, we work with them. With their juvenile section. Yeah. We would actually love to take, my argument is the youth definition is up to age 17. So I would love to take what we call emerging adults. And I'm looking for grant money. So I'm not asking money from the county, but I've been writing a lot of grants to try to get funding so that we can work with the 18 to the 29-year-olds, because that age of 17 or that age of 18 to determine adulthood is very arbitrary, and the brain is still, forming, and judgment is not always there. So I think that we could do a lot more if we could work with older, young adults.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Anybody want to make a preliminary vote?
I'll make a motion, we preliminarily approve Restorative Justice's request for $25,000.
Okay. A second?
Yep.
Okay, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for roll call vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Anyone opposed? One abstention.
And from the commission, we want to entertain a motion to approve the Restorative Justice budget.
So moved.
Any discussion? I have one question, because I think it gets to one of the other questions, is when it says that you've served juveniles from all these different towns, that's not necessarily where they committed the crime, is it?
No, not necessarily. I would,
Do some of them come to Rockland to commit crimes?
yes, yes.
So it would be a Rockland problem for the Rockland Police Department, but we're serving kids from bigger communities.
Yeah, but I could get you that data if you're interested. I think, yeah, a lot of it is, mischief in the neighborhoods of which they live. But there are, especially the Thomaston kids, might be coming up to Rockland too.
I would be interested to see.
Yeah, I could easily do that.
Any other discussion?
No, we just, thank you.
Seeing as there's none, I'll call the vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two in favor, none.
Thanks for all the explanation. Next is District Attorney, Natasha,
Hi,
page 18 and 19.
how is everyone? I wanted to thank Amber and Kathy and Chair Polkey for really, keeping the county going. And I've seen it firsthand because they've been helping, not just with the budget, but with other issues. And we're really lucky to have them. I'm really lucky that they've been so helpful to be personal, my office. So they've been going above and beyond. So and Wendy too, which you don't see her here. So, but did you want to ask me? I forget how. Even though I've been sitting here.
Generally, what I'd like you to do is just give us a real, maybe a 5-minute dissertation on your budget.
Yeah. We're asking for a little more money in a couple of places. So I'm just going to kind of wing it off the top of my head because these are spreadsheets, and but this is my second budget committee of the year, so I should be off to a good start. So the places where we're looking for a little bit more money, or a couple places in particular. One is I think it's computer consultant. So tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm reading the wrong one. But is that yeah? So
you're on it.
So the computer consulting line has gone up for the entire state. So the district attorneys are part of a group. We're called the Maine Prosecutors Association. So the 8 elected prosecutors in the 8 districts, and also the attorney general. We use a system called MEDATS, Maine Data Analysis Technology, something to that effect, right? And they're at the state house, or they were in Kennebec County, and they've moved around recently. But we use that service as our service that supports Justware, which is the software that we use to generate complaints, motions. It's Justware is the first thing you learn when you become a prosecutor in the state of Maine. You have to be able to use that system. And some of the reasons that it's pretty technical is because every year you see that the legislature is busy and they're changing the laws. It has to be updated, and then so when we generate a complaint, instead of handwriting it, right, it's generated through the system, and it has to be the correct statutory language. There's glitches, there's, language sometimes that we find that has to be changed. So that's a big part of it. We're moving to an e-filing system. When I say we, I mean the state of Maine, the judiciary, so it's not something we have control over. It is happening, so we have costs that are going up associated with that. MEDATS had to hire a new person, and they also, I think their wages went up a bit, but they have an entirely new staff person. And one of the people that isn't on staff anymore used to be in more of maybe a per diem or a contract position, and she really didn't cost very much, and now it's a full-time position with benefits, I believe, so that cost went up. So those costs went up, and that's reflected in the budget. Again, we have the 8 electeds and the Attorney General, and we have to kind of meet about these costs and these issues and figure out what's going on, and we have to decide. And we do. It has been a lot of work, and it has been really difficult, and it's not over yet. But this is basically the lowest amount. We're keeping in mind that we have to come to counties and ask for the money, and that's coming out of taxpayers' pockets. So that's one area. Another area that our budget has gone up is lodging, training, and that's because I have a goal this year to be able to, we really have not, I have not, since I have become district attorney, I've been district attorney now for 6 years, my staff doesn't get enough training. And when I say my staff, I mean particularly the attorneys, but also victim witness advocates could really engage in more training. And we have a specific goal this year to have everybody specifically well-trained in non-fatal strangulation. And non-fatal strangulation in Maine now, the legislature has made that a Class B felony offense. It's very, very serious. You can be charged with this as an aggravated assault, but for the most part, what's coming in for non-fatal strangulation is intimate partner violence, sometimes child abuse. We did just have a child abuse strangulation case in Lincoln County. A very difficult trial that my deputy won, and we're very pleased with that. These are hard cases to prove in some ways, but if we have the training, one of the silver linings is that the medical testimony, if somebody has a medical exam, which is best practices, and this is part of it, is trying to make sure that that we're all working together with law enforcement to make sure that that victims are getting medical treatment for the strangulation. We can call that person as a witness, and many of you probably know that when we get to prepping for trial, or we get even just down the line in a case, many survivors of domestic violence do not want to be a part of the prosecution, whether they actively, recant or say it didn't happen, or ask us to dismiss the charge, or if they just, they don't return calls, or they don't. Just to be honest, I think they probably often do not feel safe to testify. So we have to grapple with that in domestic violence cases, and these are the most serious domestic violence cases, typically, and we can prove them without a victim testifying. So that's why, and I don't know if Sheriff Polkey touched on this, but these cases have gone, they've kind of gone through the roof. We see them more and more. COVID has had a fallout with mental health. It is extremely apparent. I believe it will be something that we'll have to grapple with for a generation at least. And with these cases, these are folks that commit these crimes, have, as far as statistical risk factors, these are your folks that are much more likely, most likely to commit domestic violence homicide, to commit mass shootings, sex offenses, you name it. These are high risk, and we have a few of them going on right now. So sorry, there's a long explanation as to why I want to make sure that the people that are integral to prosecuting these cases, that we're able to do it. And part of that is training. Part of that is working with the new executive director of the Maine Prosecutors Association. That's the 8 prosecutors and the AG. She's a former prosecutor in York County that took strangulation cases from judges not understanding, not giving good sentences, as the victim doesn't want this, why are you moving forward with it, to getting conviction after conviction with evidence-based prosecution and getting sentences that were longer and longer. I am not a big, throw people in jail and throw away the key kind of person, but there are offenses that are so dangerous and so detrimental to the community, to families, that I do think that we need to be able to go after those offenses with everything we have. And again, that's not, so those are, when a prosecutor's working on a case and it's a juvenile case and somebody has committed criminal mischief, or it's an adult committing shoplifting or whatever, trying to get people on the right track with mental health and trying to divert from jail. Those aren't difficult legal issues, right? These are difficult legal issues. I need my attorneys to be able to be, the best in the courtroom. So I just want to make sure that we're engaging in those trainings. I may be able to right now I have a training that we're putting on in Lincoln County tomorrow afternoon And that one isn't going to cost anything. It's not going to cost, any lodging or et cetera. But if there are opportunities with other trainers in the country, there's organizations that put on really fantastic trainings. I want to be able to send folks to that. I want to be able to just make sure that we're doing that. So in this county particularly, we have 2 line prosecutors and myself. I'm not going to be the first priority to go to the trainings. It would be the line prosecutors. But even prosecutors that we've had on we have a prosecutor in Knox County who's been here more than 20 years, and he said, I know I'm good at litigating, I'm good at a job, but I could really use, the training. So,
Natasha, have you talked to Rebecca Paredes at New Hope Midcoast about this non-fetal strangulation training?
I know Rebecca Paredes I was always Parody. Is it Paredes?
Yeah.
Okay, Paredes. So I know her. I haven't spoken to her specifically about.
Because I think they do this. I just don't know if it's in the context of what you're.
Yeah, we have, and so we're working like in Lincoln County. We're doing it in collaboration. The training tomorrow with New Hope.
Okay.
And I think Mikasa. I have staff that are really good that have put this all together because this was our plan, right? And that's great. And I just went to a training recently that was in Bar Harbor at our conference where we had forensic nurses coming in. But the type of training that, for instance, New Hope might do is wonderful and it's really good. And a lot of it's going to be, it's going to be specific training that might be really good for our victim witness advocates. But some of the prosecution stuff is really technical, and you want
I assumed it was probably a higher level.
But I think, to tell you the truth, a lot of this is like we just really, as much as we can try and work in collaboration with other stakeholders, because New Hope is certainly, doing the work on the ground every day.
So as it relates to the strangulation, I think you have everybody's attention here. So with the strangulation training, is that requiring travel?
It could. The last year, I think it was last year, there were some trainings, and I apologize, I can't remember this, but there's like a national certification that you can get. We could have our prosecutors certified if we sent a couple people to these nationally. Also a victim witness advocate, and the trainings were in North Carolina. Maybe New York, maybe upstate New York, but and it was too late in the game, right? It was. I think I found out about them. They were in the spring. And we'd already done our budgets, and for instance, if I really wanted somebody from Waldo County to be able to go, Waldo County's budget had been slashed last year. Luckily, we're back to normal. So I wasn't able to get it together to try and scrounge the money. But I think having money in the budget for that, and I think I'll just put out there that. This year, I want to get everybody well trained in this and make sure we're really doing what we need to do here. But I think having a little extra money, even just to send somebody every couple of years to a specific training, OUI, vehicular manslaughter, those types of really difficult cases, the more training our prosecutors get, the better chance they're going to stay. And we really want we want our prosecutors to be trained and then stay in the position. And that's something that keeps people going. And they really want to know. Nobody wants to go to trial against a defense attorney who's getting paid $400, $500 an hour, who knows how to defend a case. We don't want to go up against that without really knowing what we're doing.
I don't think any of us here would I think we all would support, we want to make sure your people are properly trained to do whole cases and whatnot. I guess my thing is when I see budgets jump and drop and jump and drop, I'd rather see consistency. And so in the travel piece, the airfare, lodging is, you've got a convention, they take it. Am I right?
We have a conference every year, yeah.
Okay. Is that one person? Is that you?
Or? No, that's everybody. That's
everybody
all
goes.
The prosecutors, victim witness advocates, and prosecutorial assistants.
Everybody goes. Okay. And then you got $3,000 for the strangulation. I take it.
Yeah, that's kind of a rough number for potentially, again, depending on what's offered. If we can get somebody. Yes, and I think having that money there this year, again, this is what my focus is. If I were to have some extra money in the training line, maybe next year I would be saying this is what the plan is, but I would love to have that money to be able to, to make sure we haven't been doing that. When I ran the first time, that was one of the things I remember. I was like, people aren't going to trainings, and 6 years later, I feel like it's something that we're still lacking, and we're looking at, and we're asking for this in all of the counties.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, where are you year to date on that line?
On what line? On training?
The lodging and airfare. I mean, you've got a budget of $41.91, and you
Okay.
spent $3.91 through September.
Yeah, we just had the conference, so some of so airfare. I don't think we had airfare last year.
So you're going to hit your target. You're going to spend what's in the budget for this year.
We should. I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that we're on
I
target.
just wanted to check on it.
Yeah,
So-
we have the conference in we just had it a couple weeks ago. So that stuff doesn't come. Yeah, Kathy will know better, but it'll show up soon.
Okay.
So Natasha, you started your talk with explaining about the main DATS system. And it's just, this is something that came up last year, and I'll keep repeating it until I learn more about the county, is that we've had lots of troubles with computers and systems. And is your system in the DA's office, is it directly connected to this system in the county? Or is it a separate system? So when I see a consultant, is it your consultant, or are you just paying to support or be involved with MEDAX? I just want to know, because we're going to see computer consultants probably 6 more times.
Well, no, you're not. You're going to see it in one place.
Okay, but I'm just.
Did you hear it last week? No,
I know that we're trying to do better, but it's real important to learn how separate is the DA's office from everybody else's.
Yeah. We're connected to the same grid. We have, and so let's say, this happened to me the other day, and I'll give Waldo as the example because I've been filling in there, so I've been there a bit more lately. But I get into the office to hook up to Zoom to Zoom in for court at the office in Waldo. I usually do it at the court. We have a little office there, but I was doing it from the office for some reason, not in an office I usually use, and I couldn't get the internet. I couldn't get anything to work.
In Waldo.
Yeah, but this is just an example. So I'm just I'm setting the stage.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is how. Imagine what my kids feel like. So I can't get the darn computer to work, and I'm supposed to be in court, and I'm literally I have my phone up, and I'm in court. So what the staff did was call the local, right? Your local, it would be Knox County. The person in Waldo County, his name is Jason, and he came and he fiddled with all that and got it all working. So that's what the county person does. Is a lot of the hands-on.
So this is Zach.
So this is Zach here,
Right, okay.
and I haven't had any issues that Zach has had to help with, but he has in the office. I know he has in the office.
I just want to get a clue of how integrated or how.
Yeah, so it's kind of that hands-on. That
Yeah.
person is here. There's hardware, all right, and then MEDAX is this cloud, this big. It's up here, and it's supporting all of the prosecution in the state of Maine.
And that's what the 17
Yeah.
is for.
Yes.
Yeah.
I should double check while I look at just in case because I have there's.
Last year was
20.
It was 12.
Yeah, and again that's gone up, and we
that's
hope
fine.
that it's
That's
going
fine.
to be even.
That's fine. I just wanted. Thank you.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Can I just clarify, the MEDAX is dictated that all the DA's office have to use that. We can't control
I
that,
get
and
that.
IT, our IT guy has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. No, I get that. I just wanted to just.
And so this 17,542 is not related at all to our people.
No, we have no control over that. That is dictated down.
It's done physically in another location. When that's the service. So I don't usually have a hard time getting on the internet because I'm not, I'm able to open a computer. But I do often have something's wrong with something I'm trying to do, and I have to call for whatever reason. I have to call, or
We handle the infrastructure, but the specific stuff for VDAC is separate.
So I'm curious, how stable is this number going forward? Is this something that's going to keep trending up?
I hope it doesn't keep trending up. I am not, like, out of the group of DAs, we've got one person specifically now, Todd Collins from Worcester County. He's been our, kind of our lead on it. And so I will just say, I'm kind of like, whatever Todd thinks has to happen, he's very, very smart. He's working on this. I think that we're stable at the moment as far, I mean, I think they're staffing, because we pay the consulting fee, so they're going to have raises. Reasonable raises, I imagine. So that's going to be a part of it. That should be incremental and small. With the new e-filing system, I would love to say it's going to be stable and we're going to be good. I got to tell you, like, none of this ever seems to be normal.
Not to undercut you, but I saw Kathy.
I think anytime you're talking about the cost of people doing the work for you, those costs are going to continue increasing. So unless there's some level of efficiency that they're putting in place, which it just feels like they're continuously adding, I don't foresee that cost isn't going to continually rising, as is other software costs that are out there.
Yeah, but I don't see it right. I mean, I hope I'm not coming back next year and asking for $5,000 extra dollars in that line. That's not my expectation. My expectation is that this is the big jump and it should be incremental, but we haven't moved to e-prosecutor yet.
There may be competing objectives here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the reasons that I like Todd Collins doing it is because he's very smart, he knows what he's doing, and then because maybe I should bring him to the meetings, because the tech stuff, I'm just like, it seems like magic to me that I open my computer and I can do this work.
Do you have the ability to answer questions relative to revenue?
Yeah.
So the DA Witness Advocate grant now, it looks like this year, it looks like it's going to kind of meet budget and all. And then this coming year, it's this significant, like a 25% decrease.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to frame it all into a question in that the deferred disposition is also a fairly large drop. So can you just speak to those?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So they're separate. So first, the grant. We get, what is it, $55,000 I think for the whole district. Do you remember? Yes, we get a grant for the whole district, and we split it. We split it half and half between the northern part of the district and the southern part of the district. And so when we look at the northern part of the district, then from there, we used to split it. I think this is correct, but something along these lines: 2/3 to Knox County, 1/3 to Waldo County, and that was because Waldo County only had 1.5 victim witness advocates, where we had 2 in Knox County. Now, Waldo County has now for the second year been budgeted fully to have 2 full-time victim advocates, so now we split it evenly because that victim advocacy program is now what I would say is equal in both offices. So that means that we're getting less and they're getting more, but it's only because they've started to put in their share. The Waldo County put in their share of hours for victim advocate program. Did I explain that well enough?
I've got you so far.
Okay.
But it opens up about 30 other questions that I'm not going to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, if it's equal, and the thing is, I'll tell you, the way that grant works, I'm just going to put this out there, it is a $55,000 grant, and the person who administers it, the people who administer it, it is an ungodly amount of hours. It is not a grant that I want to continue to be getting. I will be talking to, those will be conversations. This is a 2-year grant, so we're on for another 2. But it takes so much effort and so much time away from work that should be happening, actually doing, the work in a prosecutor's office to get a pittance. But $55,000 a few, years and years ago when we started getting it, seemed like more. So there is that issue. I have the ability to decide where it goes. If I decided it all goes to Waldo County, I could do that. But I've tried to just do it as equitably as possible. So that's where we are with that. The revenue for deferred dispositions. Let me look at the line. I actually don't know. I don't remember. So the budgeted, okay, so the budget's not, yeah, so we've been getting less revenue for that. There's a couple of reasons. So a deferred disposition, for anyone that's not familiar, is a legal construct in which, in a criminal case, a defendant, the judiciary, and the prosecution, and defendant is usually through defense counsel, but one way or another, enter into a contract. And there's terms of the contract that have to be completed in order for there to be a good outcome. And if they're not completed, or if somebody, some of the basic conditions are no criminal conduct, for instance, and so that could result in a bad outcome. And there is a statute that says, I think it's the statute, I think it's contained in the same statute that creates the deferred disposition. It states that that the district attorney can charge a supervision fee for supervisory purposes, et cetera, up to $50. So when I first started as district attorney, I had these wild ideas that, you know what, why don't I make a sliding scale and I try and bring in some more revenue with this line, and we use deferred dispositions, in a lot of, in matters that, we want somebody to pay restitution, stay out of trouble, get treatment, and sometimes we use them when, to tell you the truth, we're going to have it's a compromise. We're going to have a real hard time proving the case at a trial, so it's a compromised plea agreement. But that money, I don't actually get to use it for supervision fees, right? It goes into the general fund. I don't get to touch it. So and I'm not saying that to be cranky, but this is why that matters, is because fast forward a couple of years, and the judiciary has changed. It has leaned much more to, much more kind of maybe, let's say, defense and defendant friendly, which is in a lot of ways, more a balanced approach than it had before. However, with deferred dispositions, I've had a judge literally tell me, the judge here, that's usually sitting here, question about, and he will not accept anything over, I think, $15, maybe $25, but he will question where the money is going, what we're doing to supervise, and I can't, obviously I'm going to tell him the truth, it goes into the general fund. I think if I could point to some potential programming maybe that we could do, again, it wouldn't have to necessarily be, but maybe like there's a supervisory programming, this diversionary programming that we're doing with the Sheriff's Department or something, that might help a little bit, but I'll tell you, they don't like to levy. They don't like them as part of the contract. A lot of the people that are doing it are indigent. They've been deemed indigent through the court, so there's that issue. And if somebody comes back and they haven't paid, and they're a poor person, they have low income, we're unlikely to be asking for a bad outcome, and the court is absolutely not going to give them a bad outcome. So we don't have many teeth in that. And that has seemed to be kind of snowballing, right? I think, again, that if, that could be a conversation in the future about some sort of programming that we did for diversion that I could kind of point to. And So I'll say the other thing is we've had issues with deferred dispositions, and they're happening now more around the state. And there's a big issue going on in Lewiston, or in District 3 right now, where certain dispositions we used to enter into we're more reluctant to because judges will not give people the bad outcome even if they commit a crime, even if they don't do a darn thing that they were supposed to. And so we're reluctant to do it in more cases.
Okay.
So, sorry.
I got everything you said. I bottled it up into why it's down. And I'll make you stop.
Thank you. Yeah, be careful asking me a question.
It's okay. It's all right. Yes, questions. Sorry, Sean.
Yep. A weird one on the training seminar conference line on the year to date. How did we get that to be a negative spending?
Give me a moment to look, please. You're probably better at flipping through. A negative.
It was a negative 596.
Oh, did we get a reimbursement because of that?
Yes, we got a reimbursement this year for an expense last year.
Okay, that explains that. And my other question is on the computer supplies and equipment. Most of the increase of that is $4,000 plus a little for tablets. Is that related to the NEDATs?
Give me one moment. I'm trying to find the one.
Under commodities.
Are you asking why it's such a high percentage increase?
No, I'm just more like what
So let me just see, e-prosecutor database,
No, he was asking about supplies and equipment line, the 4,250 for tablets.
okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line, thank
That's
you.
the computers that they purchase each year, but the last couple of years we've funded those out of ARPA funds, and that's why it's an increase this year compared to last year.
So, to Bob's point, I mean, if we look at 2022, and, I mean, this number's been bouncing back and forth, is this something that's gonna be steady going forward?
I don't expect we're going to have any ARPA funds going forward, so that
Correct.
will not offset it. And I think I think everybody is on I actually know that everybody is on a staggered, your computer gets after this long and then you get
It should be a consistent expense that we see moving forward. It was just the purchase last year was funded out of ARPA, so it wasn't in the budget, in the DA budget.
I have the same question if Sean, I don't want to.
No, that explains it.
That
That explanation made me look back on, oh yeah, okay, it's returning to normal-ish.
On the computer repairs and maintenance, are those one-time or recurring expenses?
Those are, it looks, part of this is cut off, so I'm going to just look at my cheat sheet here, but I think a lot of that is recurring, and, I'm sorry, it's 54585. I have Kelly did a great cheat sheet. Okay, e-prosecutor database, $910 a license. That's yeah. So that's one of the platforms that we use. That's going to be those are licenses that we have to buy. So we have 910 times 11. And 2 will be divided by 4, that's Lindsay's and mine. So those are licenses for the e-prosecutor database, and that's going to be a consistent.
So there
should be consistent. It's probably incrementally go up.
So it'll incrementally go up from almost $11,000.
Well, and so let me just look at the rest. Is messenger licenses are $198 each. So those again, I expect. My assumption is from being having to pay bills is that stuff like that does typically go up eventually. So I expect those would incrementally go up over the years. I mean, I'm not saying next year's going to go up a bunch, but it'd probably incrementally go up over the years. ShareFile. 8 licenses are $1,000. We have to have licenses for, and licenses just means we have to have that many users.
Were these programs you didn't have before?
No, these are all programs we've had.
So that's a pretty significant increase.
I think
it's a 3 times increase.
So we've also had an increase because we've had to use multi-factor authentication costs. That's not a big increase. So I think the bigger increases are okay. So ShareFile is something that we use now to the police, the sheriff's department, police departments, law enforcement agencies, all of them. We get our discovery just online, right? It comes through ShareFile, a program that we have to share the stuff, and we have to have the licenses aren't attached to people; they're attached to data, an amount of data. And it turns out that we've had to buy more and more licenses, or we've had to get more licenses because the data is just we use a lot of data.
Okay, so let's zero in on e-prosecutor since that's the big item. Is that's a one-time or that's recurring? So we're going to be looking at that going forward every year.
That's recurring, and that's yeah. Okay, so that e-prosecutor is recurring, and that is because we're going to because we are going to this electronic filing system with the court, and we will be required.
Was this required by the state?
This is something that the Prosecutors Association agreed on because the judiciary is using it. I'm going to say. I mean, my assumption would be I don't think there's a statute that points to it, but I believe that the court is. We have to use the e-filing system, we have to be able to use
Just to ask a generic question then,
Yeah.
how does this benefit the taxpayers?
To use an e-filing system with the court?
Yeah, I understand.
Well, to some extent, we will lessen our need for paper and copying and that type of thing. So that has gone down. That will continue to go down. The court has decided to do e-filing. My personal opinion is that that's just where this is going. That's where the judicial system is going. That's what's going to happen. It's what's happening in every other system. It's going online.
Who's directing these?
The judiciary. I mean,
When you say the judiciary specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose
The Attorney General, or?
No, so the Attorney General is kind of like me. He's prosecutor. The judiciary is like the law court. That's the office of the judiciary. It's a different branch. So it's the executive. I'm in the executive branch. There's obviously the legislative branch, and then there's the judiciary. So the judiciary is a separate body. They're using e-filing,
It's a
and
branch
we
of
have
state
to.
government.
Huh?
It's a branch of state government.
It's a branch of state government, and we
Okay.
have to. And basically, the court tells you you're doing something.
How does this benefit the sheriff's office?
The sheriff's office. How does it benefit the sheriff's office? If I could just step back, e-filing is just right now when you have to file something. I have to take a document and I have to walk up to the clerk and I have to sign it in front of her. So as far as just using technology instead of in person is going to save, eventually, right, it's going to save people from having to drive to court. It's going to save people on indigent legal costs because their attorneys aren't going to have to take time to drive to court. They're not going to have to buy paper to sign, right, to sign motions and file them. So things are just moving online, and it benefits the taxpayers because the whole legal system potentially is going to have some of those cost savings and less of an environmental impact, to tell you the truth, to have to get in the car and drive. I mean, we have attorneys that are driving hours to file something. I mean, we have attorneys here that take cases in Aroostook because there's not enough Aroostook County. So I mean, in the aggregate, I just think that's where it's going. It's like, why is it better to pay your bill online for CMP than put it in the mail? You know, and I know for me why it's important, but so it's kind of a general, that's just where these systems are going.
I hate to keep dragging you on. Is this going on in every county?
Yes, this is the whole state of Maine. This is happening in the whole state of Maine, and I'm just going to tell you, there are prosecutors who are very unhappy with it. So I'm trying to it's happening, and I'm trying to be positive. But yes, I think that there's concerns that it'll be rocky and expensive, but it will save money eventually, and it is just the reality that we live in.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? No.
I make a motion, we accept Natasha's budget as preliminarily as presented.
Second?
Okay, move second. Any comments? I'm going to vote against this, and the reason why, in the last 2 years, this budget is up 30%. And I hear what you're saying, Natasha. I think the system, if they're going to rejigger the system, they need to show us what the plan is, where there's some level of efficiency. I don't think jurisprudence is efficient at all, and I'm just not going to vote for this. So, all those in favor? So we got, hold on a minute, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, and those opposed? 4, and 1 abstention, so we got a split right now.
May I say something?
Yeah.
In my budget and the way the district attorney's office is structured, well, let me step back. These tech costs, I don't love them. I hate to have to ask for them, but these are contracted agreements that we're a part of. The prosecutors of state of Maine, every prosecutor's office, the attorney general's office. So we're kind of contractually obligated, and again, there's a lot of very complicated decisions going on, but with people that are really smart, a lot smarter than me about this stuff, and it's necessary. We have to pay these bills, and it has. I mean, I'm just, and I wish that the district attorneys setup was different, to tell you the truth, because I have 4 counties, I have to go to 4 counties for budgets. It would be a lot easier for me if the state of Maine just paid the budget, and then it would be equal for everybody. York County, Cumberland County, Knox County, people get paid the same, we have the same resources. So in my opinion, it's inefficient and it's a nightmare in some ways. So it is nice to be here with all of you. But those are just bills I have to pay. So if they're not budgeted for, it could have to come out of other lines, but it could be that I have to take legal action to make sure I can pay those bills.
So let me just say this: that you're fortunate at this point in time. This is just a struggle. Okay, and I will tell you this. When I vote no for something, it's sending a message. I'm just one person, and there's 3 others that feel that way, and maybe a 4th, maybe not, maybe a 5th. Excuse me. So, we're simply saying we just think this is too high, and I'm not going to get into the weeds as the Commissioner Chair would like me to, but I do feel that the way this is going, I am not comfortable with, and at this point in time, I would not vote for it. I'm not going to say I'm not going to vote for it at the end.
Okay.
But right now, that's my concern.
Yeah, I just wanted everyone to make sure. I just want to make sure everybody understands that these are like contractual obligations. Yep. So I got to pay them one way or the other.
Yep. So. Yep. Okay.
And on the commission side, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented. Any discussion? I don't disagree with what the chair is saying in terms of how much budgets go up. It does look like your budget, according to all the numbers I see at the bottom here, is going up 12%, which is, of course, more than we would like any budget to go up. But there are unfunded mandates, as we always refer to them. Having seen them in lots of different places, we're stuck with those, and that becomes a legislative problem, that gets shifted down to us. And unfortunately, if we're going to keep having a DA's office, we're going to have to pay those. Yes. I think we all agree that we don't want to pay anymore, but some of the times we have to. And so we'll suck it up and live with it. There is one thing that I don't think we discussed here that you might want to help us with. Under wages, it talks about adding a supervisor's stipend.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So this is a district made up of 4 counties, the 4 Mid-Coast counties, Saginaw, Lincoln, Knox, and Waldo. And all the other 3 counties have office supervisors. In this county, we don't have an office manager. So that means that if there's an issue in the office, which there often is, that I am the next in line, supervising people who do administrative work, people whose jobs, I couldn't just go walk in and do it. I go do the attorney's jobs. I am doing one of the attorney's jobs. I have been filling in for an attorney position, but I'm not I don't work in administrative positions. These aren't people that I can just go in and say, well, why aren't you doing it like this? And why aren't you doing it like that? That's why we have office managers. Also, it's like the chain of command. It goes up through somebody who has power basically to make decisions in the moment that knows more about all the ins and outs that are going on. So it's much more efficient. We don't have that in Knox County. It's been I'll say it's been difficult. And we actually didn't have it in Saginaw County when I started, and we have that now, and it really just streamlines things. It means that all of the little issues that come up don't come to me when I'm like in court dealing with like a serious prosecution. It also puts me in a strange position sometimes here. For instance, like the department head meetings. I have an office manager in the other counties that go to those, and that's they represent me at those meetings. In Knox County, we don't have an office manager. We have somebody who's been going to the meetings and is part of their job description. But it becomes a point of contention. Why is it that person and not someone else? So it's just good to have that local person who's in charge of the administrative folks. We do have attorneys that are technically supervisors also, but again, you can imagine that that having that person in the chain of command that then goes to a prosecutor and then comes to me is going to be is going to make the office run better. I'm having I'm very much looking forward to having somebody in that position, because it has just become almost, it's just become very difficult as far as sorting out administrative issues in the office.
Would an office administrator have some responsibility for helping to develop the budget in the future?
I think that the plan is to put that in there. That's what, in my other 3 counties, that's what that person does. They're my budget person.
So we'll have somebody else to pick on.
Well, I still show up. It depends. I hadn't been going to Saginaw County. My office manager had been doing the budget committee meetings there, but now they want the budget committees. They don't just want me. They also want probate judge David Paris there too. So we're going to be going. I don't mind coming. I buy myself a new jacket every year for budget season. But it's really just good to have that person that is that's your go-to second in command in the office. I have my attorneys, I can go to them, and that's great. But there's so much of my job that's administrative that having just those people in the other offices I'm talking to them more than I'm talking to attorneys often. So, because this job should be administrative. We've been down in attorney positions, so it's been a wild ride. But
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No. Seeing there's none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? 2 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. So I expect I'll be coming back at some point, but I'm going to go home to my babies. They're waiting for me.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Next is the Sheriff's Patrol, pages 25 and 6. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. For those who don't know me,
Natasha used up all the time, so you have.
I'm going to try to expedite it. We're talking about that.
You had 2 minutes to explain a $3.6 million budget.
So I do want, if I can, to introduce our newest patrol administrator, Arthur Smith in the back corner.
I've never met him before.
He is not. He will be hopefully in future meetings. So this is his first meeting. We didn't feel it was appropriate to stick him up here by himself. So we're here. $6 million budget. Try to tell you in a few minutes. So as you already heard from some of it, there are a lot of unfunded mandates. So it's not going on just at the state level. It's also going at the federal level, like you heard me speak about last year. There's some things under criminal justice information systems specifically. The federal government did a complete revamp during COVID. Rolled it out very quickly, said you have till basically October of 25 to comply. If you don't comply, we may sanction you. Not sure what those sanctions may be, but that's what's driving some of the stuff within Sheriff's Office, District Attorney, corrections, so on and so forth, judiciary. So a lot of these things are happening. It's also happening not just within criminal justice, but it's also happening within traffic court. We're going to e-citation, e-stop. A lot of things are going electronic, cloud-based, getting away from the paper stuff. My assumption, based off some of my scholarly learnings, is the Paper Reduction Act of, 1970-something, and we're now just catching up in 2024 here in the state of Maine, I guess. So that is what is driving a lot of this. We're becoming very dependent on technology. As you see, some of the expenses, at least in contractual commodities, are around computer systems. Fortunately, we were able to use ARPA money in the last few years to deal with some of that, but there are some pretty significant increases when you look at them coming back in the budget. Many of them are reoccurring, to Mr. Lapham's point, that laptops we've had on a recycling basis that we brought before you folks in the past. We try to do approximately 3 per year. We actually call them mobile data terminals for the deputies because that's what it is. It's their lifeline to the world, if you will, for anything they're doing in the criminal justice system. It's record searches, information searches on the individuals they're dealing with on a daily basis. It's then recording that information, putting it in a record that is electronic forever. What has happened in the past, what you're hearing some of the judiciary doing with the DA in particular, is we would then take that electronic information, put it on paper, send it to the district attorney, keep it in a file here somewhere.
to then upload it into an electronic system at the state level versus creating a way to crosstalk. So I think that is Mr. Lindquist's point, is how do we become more efficient with all of our systems? So we are, as you'll see in later meetings with the IT budget, we're trying to do that. We're trying to get our manager to be more knowledgeable. How do we interface with the state? How do we interface with even our partners locally, at the local police departments, along with the county? The good news is for us, the county many years ago decided to go with a program that was called Spillman, is now called Flex, but we are all within that together. So the DA has access to it, all of the agencies in the county have access to it, that includes fire, EMS, now that there's a lot of full-time services, but they, dispatch portal, communications portal, and we're all connected through that here at the county. That has also, again, been paid for through ARPA up till now, and will show up in some things in the IT budget. So, yeah, that's kind of the broad brush to give you the idea there.
So Flex now
yes.
is not a central hub for
So-
all of this data, all this information.
It is for Knox County only. So we pay for an on-site server that manages all of our records. We control them. The shared file thing, like you heard from the DA, one of the problems there, as they learned, is that they did not, and this is a litigation issue, and I don't know if they're allowed to talk about it, but what we know as the law enforcement leadership is because they didn't disclose, the Attorney General is actually potentially going to take action against that organization. But that's kind of in flux. So that's why you're seeing the big cost, but that may potentially reduce depending on what they negotiate in that, whatever they're calling it, litigation or just threatening to litigate, but anyway. But yes, locally we are all together on one server that is here in the county, interconnected. We share it. We do have the ability, we've done it before with the state police in particular, where we did because they also had the same system. We were able to interface between the state police and us, similar to our dispatch crisis last year through this year. We were able to create kind of a portal system to work with Waldo County because they have the same system. The challenge is we are not able to work with places that do not have the same system. Lincoln County, Saginaw, just within our District 6 are not on the same systems. So we can't share, however the DA can at that DA's level of their program. But anyway. So to get to us in particular, so it has always said sheriff patrol, but it is more than patrol within this budget. This includes civil process and a lot of the administrative function. It also has a lot of our contractual stuff, especially with the islands of Vinyl Haven and North Haven, are also contained within this budget. So it also has our criminal investigations. So we're trying to shift to calling it the sheriff's budget other than corrections, basically, or airport security. So airport security has to be separate because of the way FAA money is, and the corrections budget, same thing. It has to be separate because there's statutory language that any money going into corrections must remain in corrections and be spent on corrections. So personnel. So this is going to be in flux a little bit. We are still in negotiations with the collective bargaining unit. We are also talking with them about some efficiencies within how we manage operations. I'm not going to get into a lot of the details, but I think many of you know we are still struggling with staffing and responding to what we're dealing with. As the DA mentioned, it is a much more violent world. We are dealing with cases for many hours on occasion, which then leaves us in a position where active patrol is little to none for, unfortunately, several hours. It doesn't mean that there's not bodies available to respond if we need them. It just means there's nobody actively doing things potentially, especially if we deal with something called the yellow flag. If any of you watch the newspapers, the governor bolstered some stuff around the yellow flag in response to the Lewiston shooting. That has trickled down as now we have to do these things, and that takes a lot of time. The last one we did took 2 deputies and a detective, and it was approximately 6 hours to manage that between those 3 people each. So about 18 hours total between those 3 people doing that case. And that's just to get it before the district attorney, let alone prosecution, what happens after. But anyway. But we're not asking for new personnel. What we are asking to do is maybe realign personnel. One of the things we've identified is there are gaps in leadership during certain hours. Even though administration is around, we may be in meetings, we're not necessarily always available to patrol to answer their questions. So what we're looking to do is to develop a supervisory model that allows supervision to be available all the time for them, and if they get a hold of us administratively, they can. So in here it says creating a patrol supervisor. Like I said, in our discussions with the bargaining unit, we're talking about maybe creating assistant supervisors and taking away that patrol supervisor. So the idea is to reduce that personnel cost to get kind of the same bang for our buck, if you will, because in our minds, there's no sense to have a supervisor, full supervisor around when there's administration around. You can have an assistant supervisor who can then bounce questions off of us in and out of meetings. That's more efficient than having a full supervisor at that salary and benefits. So that's still being negotiated. It may change by the time we get before you at the next meeting. So, within contractual, the big changes there, again, back to automation. It's a very litigious world. Many judges are no longer accepting just verbal testimony, even though we need to testify. Many are relying on video or audio recordings. We've attempted several different video systems or recording systems over the years. Some are very expensive, some are very cheap. We do find that you get what you pay for. The systems we're currently using are very laborious, especially around FOA requests, which are also extremely increased. We're experiencing 5 to 10 FOA requests a day. It is phenomenal, yes, which includes video, evidence, reports, all of that stuff. Unfortunately, most of the time they're criminal cases, and we can just say it's a criminal case. You can't get this information yet, but once that's resolved, they do have access to it at some point. But the system we use does not allow for ease of dealing with that. One of the things that also we didn't look at is redaction of video. That is allowed, but we don't have software to do that. So what we're doing is entering into a contract with a company that they basically lease the equipment to us. It's cloud-based storage. It is our videos. Unlike a lot of other places, it's theirs. Then if you cancel the contract, you've got to buy it back. This is all-inclusive. It's by unit. They also provide complimentary spares, so that if one fails, you can just swap it out, mail them back the bad one, they send you the new one. So it's a pretty good contract, I think, for the price compared to what we've been. It's called LensLock. But the advantage is this all is integratable with the same systems that the district attorney was talking about. This will be able to be immediately redacted, sent to the e-file system, given access to the courts, the prosecution, and the defense. So that is one of the bigger increases. Also, like I said, the laptops, about 10,000 or 11,000-ish for laptops. Right now, for law enforcement grade, because they are being put in a vehicle going all over the place in this county, they have to be ruggedized, and those units are between $2,500 and $3,000 a piece. So that is that cost there specifically. Now, let me look at commodities here real quick. So, I'm sorry, laptops is in commodities, not in contractual, I apologize. The other piece is training. So one of the things that we've talked about before is staffing issues. We have debated back and forth in many meetings of do we create a line specifically for law enforcement buyout. So for those that are not aware, any law enforcement officer who graduates from the Maine Criminal Justice Academy is what we call BLEPI, which is the Basic Law Enforcement Training Program, has a buyback for 5 years. During that 5-year period, it starts at 100% and it reduces 20% a year until they're at zero in the 6th year. So what we've discussed is, do we create a line for that? Do we not create a line for that? We've seen a lot of ebb and flow where we buy somebody, then we lose somebody, and we get paid for that. So what we've done is use that training line specifically to kind of offset that, because we haven't seen a need to create a reserve line specifically. So you'll see that there has been some in and out in that line specifically. So it also is some challenges around training as well. Again, there are things that they want us to do as far as law enforcement to be trained in on a regular basis. We get mandatory training, but we also have to have continuing education hours every year. So this line is increased specifically to try to make sure that we keep up with that stuff. So to go back to capital, I think...
Pat, can I just... So the training line of 55275, is that the line you're referring to?
54545, page 25, about halfway down. Training, conferences, and seminars.
Okay, sorry, I was in commodities. Go ahead.
Can you remind us what that actual expenditure of $71,800 was in 2023?
71,000.
Or is that
So training.
Under training, seminars,
The actual
conference?
expenditures 23, training, seminars, conference.
Pretty sure those were buyouts. So the first year buyout is $47,000.
A buyout of
a police officer.
Under training.
Yes, that's where we've been putting that.
So explain a buyout to me, I'm sorry, I don't.
So, kind of like a non-compete clause, agencies will have, you can't steal my people. Law enforcement doesn't have that. What the answer the state came up with for law enforcement was, if you really want to hire this person, you've got to pay the agency they're working for. So it's like a recruiting buyout is to repay the agency that they're at for all those expenses, uniforms,
Is there a
training
fixed
time.
fee? Is it?
Yes.
Okay, all right, maybe that's all I need to. Okay.
So that's most likely what those are. So we did have several people, if you remember, we had about 4 or 5 people leave us in 1 year, and there was probably those buyouts for those people. I don't, without having it in front of me, but that's just based off the number, that's why I say yes.
Do you see this as a continuing, a recurring expense at around this level?
Yes and no. We are trying to do a better job of finding people new to the job, but there is something to be said for those that already have experience. Sometimes it is worth the buyout, but we have a pretty elaborate hiring process.
No, I didn't, excuse me, Patrick, but I meant the going forward at $15,000 a year as training. Just training.
So as far as general training, yes. As far as buyouts, though, no. So that may jump up and down depending, because we may lose somebody that we get paid for. So that may actually reduce that budget to a positive.
Just to
That's
add
not
to
something
that,
you can control.
Correct.
Just to add to that, one thing we're striving for is retention. And to the sheriff's point, we're one shy of being fully staffed again. We have 3 fully certified people we're looking at currently to try to fill all the positions. So the point is to retain people, so we don't have to hire people, lessen that.
Right.
And also cut costs down when we retain staff. For instance, the equipment, the taser I mentioned before is $3,300. The ballistic vest is $1,700. The field training program is 16 weeks. So it's not only a financial impact, but it's also a time impact. It takes time to train someone for 16 weeks. It takes time. So we're really striving to retain staff so we don't have to pay buyouts and purchase new equipment and uniforms.
Thank you.
And every law enforcement department is going through this problem. Every one of them. Some worse than others.
Yes, yes. So one town just a little north of us is in a bind right now that they're down to 1 or 2 staff members that are full-time at the moment. So they've reached out and they're hoping that we'll be able to help, but when we're also short-staffed, it makes it hard. So to get back to commodities, the only other item there that is kind of in flux, that looks like a big number, is auto supplies and equipment. That was just a realignment of, so TMDE is an organization that helps to maintain some of the items in our vehicles, like radar units, those things. So it was just a realignment of that to the proper place, or where we felt was the proper place in the budget. Under capital, so again, we're under vehicles, we try to do a rotation. What we did here is we eliminated one of the vehicles. We typically do 3 patrol, 1 admin. We've reduced that admin. We feel that we'll be able to get away without having to get an admin vehicle this year in an effort to try to offset this budget a little bit somewhere. Revenue, we don't get a lot of chances for revenue. The only place I really have is within civil process. We were hoping that the fee change that happened was going to give us more revenue. We have not realized at this point that hope. The good news is at least we budgeted low enough to keep in line with it. In talking with the civil supervisor, our best guess is the reason we're not seeing that revenue is when they increase the fees, they also kind of put things together. So some things we could, like weapons, so we could charge for X, Y, and Z separately. Now they're packaging X, Y, and Z, so if you get X, you also get Y and Z. So we think that's the real reason that we're not seeing some of that revenue like we thought. But we are reaching out to other counties to see if they're seeing the same thing. We've not heard anybody say otherwise at this point.
Question, Pat. So, under gas, under is 54,650, you've got new patrol boat, which I think was put into service this year?
No, we put it off this year, so it still has not been delivered, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, so that's the big jump in gas. Okay.
Yes, so that is part of the jump, is we're not sure what that's going to be. We also know that the first tank of fuel is going to be expensive, because it's a couple $100-gallon tank. But that will, they assure us it'll be delivered before Christmas.
That's amazing.
Merry Christmas.
But the good news is, at least we put it off, right? So
just to add some of your points about the cameras, we found this about the jail as well. When the jail went to cameras, the body cameras, it reduces the false allegations that are made. We were getting allegations almost on a weekly basis from inmates at the jail that a corrections officer did this or said that to us. It really reduces the false allegations, and it actually protects the inmate or the person out on the street. Also, the same concept is when deputies are encountering people in public, they're told to have the body cameras on. Oftentimes, that can save us from millions of dollars of lawsuits if we have the body camera capturing the whole encounter. So they've really made a difference, and they've really cut down on the false allegations. And the jail has proven that, and Captain Wood could speak to that as well. So it's sort of a hidden reduction, really. I mean, how do you measure that benefit? You know,
That's
with
that's
the false
one-time-
allegations.
Not a one, but that's not something you're going to be replacing every year, right?
So it's a subscription. So they're essentially leasing us the cameras, but they take care of all of it. If it's damaged, dies, whatever, it's all on them. We pay the same fixed cost for the next 5 years is what the contract will be.
Okay, so we could be looking at something like this for the next 5 years.
Correct.
At the 2.5 year mark, they replace the cameras automatically.
Okay.
At 2.5 years, they replace all 15 cameras. And just to touch on the training piece, we have 25 deputies, and it costs anywhere between $600 and $1,000 per person to train them. And so, to the sheriff's point, we're required by the Maine Criminal Justice Academy to provide training to every deputy, and if we don't provide that training, they would lose their law enforcement certification. So we have to maintain the training hours, and it's sometimes difficult to predict where the training might be. We always strive to have the training in Maine, if all possible, but there are few times where they have to go somewhere else in New England, New Hampshire, maybe, or to go to training. So that's why the training line it can really fluctuate. So that's an estimate that we put in there.
It's not just training, it's also the airfare and lodging. We had 2 deputies recently go to what's called FLEXI, which is the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, to learn to be boat captains. We had to pay airfare and housing, but they actually found a grant and paid for the training for us. So we actually expected the invoice for that, but there was no invoice, fortunately. So, but sometimes there are opportunities like that that do show up, that as long as we can get them there, the training's free, so that also is some of that cost you see in that side of things.
Thank you.
Does it give them Coast Guard certification to be both?
No.
So
this is, Coast Guard certification is typically around either passengers or freight or vessels, things like that. This is specifically how to maneuver do certain law enforcement functions.
Thank you.
On the line of retirement, I'm not against paying retirement benefits, but this is like a going up on a line there, and is that something that's going to keep going in that direction?
Most likely. So Maine PERS sets the rates for those that participate, so that's what that increase typically is. But even if those individuals don't participate in Maine PERS, we have a county match of 7% if they contribute 3 to a 401. So if wages increase, retirement increases.
Okay, so this is basically a variable expense now that, as you said, as wages increase, this is going to go up.
Can I just add to that there's a direct hit that we take this year for someone that has been on military leave for the last 4 years, and we have to pay into Maine PERS as if he was employed for that amount of time. So that's a almost $26,000 hit that's only pertaining to this year
That's only
in
this
insurance
year.
to
Okay.
us.
Thank you.
More questions?
Mr. Polkey, real quick. No,
Sheriff.
No, you can call him what you want. You're not, as far as revenue, and I know we don't have a grant writer, but from Jessica Berry's, my experience now in the last year, of all the different opioid, all the different federal grant programs that have they're, I don't want to say they're everywhere, but what have you done, or what are we doing to discover some different types of support for your department through some of these amazing programs? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm not saying you're not doing it.
No, I'm prepared for this question. So the challenge is a lot of those grants are not geared towards law enforcement operations. And that's what this budget is our law enforcement function.
Well,
most of them are geared towards the correctional side. So
Save that question for when Bob gets in.
We're all here together.
Yes. So I mean, there have been grants in the past, like the COPS grants that help pay for rural patrol and those types of things. Most of those have dried up. The only ones that are pretty much available now are SROs, or school resource officers. Most of our school districts are not interested in working with us on contract deputies for school resource officers.
Okay, thank you.
I know you've explained this at least to me before, but just one more time. The decrease in revenue from North Haven and Vinyl Haven is due to the coverage.
So we have new deputies out there, and I'm assuming this is based off their current rates of pay. North Haven in particular may be a little different, because we did just hire an individual from Hancock County. So an example of somebody we've kind of shuffled around. The good news is he didn't cost us a buyout.
Okay.
So that may change a little bit, just because his wage is a little higher than we originally anticipated for that position. But that is what they pay us back, their portion of those salary benefits and so forth. So that's what that revenue is pay us back their portion of that contract.
So to just summarize that's a direct correlation of 50% of the North Haven deputy and 50% of the Vinyl Haven deputy. So it depends on what their salary is, and then 50% reimbursement. So that's going to fluctuate based on who's in the position.
Okay.
And just for your information, whoever is representing the islands, I don't pretend to know, but the Vinyl Haven Island has 2 deputies now, and that's the first time we've ever had 2 deputies on the island. So the islands are all fully staffed, so I should just kind of look around, but they're fully staffed, so it's islands are very happy to receive much needed coverage.
The years of service for those 3 individuals covering those 2 islands is over 50 years combined.
Wow. That's great.
Thank you.
We run out of questions? We want to do a vote?
I will make a motion. We preliminarily approve the sheriff's, what are you calling it, the patrol budget, sheriff's budget, as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Questions? You know, such a large chunk of this is people and benefits. So not much we can do with it. So we'll vote. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? No abstention.
And on the commission side, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented. So moved. And I'll second it. Any discussion? I do want to thank the two of you at this point, just because this is a big budget with a lot of different moving parts, and you both know the budget. It's not like you're fudging things. I appreciate your work on the budget and how thorough your knowledge is of it. So thank you.
No.
But if there's no other discussion, all those in favor? 2 in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
All right.
See you in the morning.
I'm still here. Last but not least is corrections, page 31 and through. So
we pre-planned this, you've heard my voice enough, so Captain Wood is now going to...
Put him on. The
So I'm just going to hit the high points of one, as you mentioned, the staffing is one of our biggest expense. The second expense for us is our medical contract. I will let you all know that our contract expires at the end of this year, so we will be sending it out there at RFP and see what we can do. I know some of you have been on, most of you have been on the budget committee, so we have a collaboration with Two Bridges. Part of that deal is going to be trying to work with them and come up with a collaborative RFP for medical services to see if we can get that cost down. I'm not, since you did bring up a grant, I have got a grant for MAP services. It was a $100,000 grant. It was my grant. It took a lot of work. It took the finance department, myself, we're still working on it. It takes ongoing documentation, quality reports to follow up with that. So that was a grant that we got together to help offset some of that cost, the MAP costs.
Awesome.
During the MAP.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm not going to go over the cameras. I think that's been hammered on enough. One of the things that we did a couple of years ago, we did purchase the body scanner for corrections through the ARPA. When we purchased that, there was a service plan that was included in that for 3 years. That has finally come to an end. So one of those increases in there for a little over $10,000 is for that service plan to continue that forward. The warranty's still good on that unit until 2028. And another increased cost is landscaping, because the correctional facility has the biggest parcel. So that's why it costs so much for us. I'm going to try to work with collaboration again and see if we can work on a trustee program to see if we can have inmates kind of do those services and cut that cost down moving forward. I think I pretty much hit the high points. I'll let you guys open up with questions because I know you're getting late in the night and you want to show it sweet. So.
Okay, so currently there's no trustee program around the jail at all.
So our challenge right now is the majority of our population is pretrial status. So they don't meet the criteria to go to be trustees.
Oh, okay.
So if we figure if we can collaborate together, we can, with the sentence people we have and what they have over there, we can possibly come up with a program that can help with that.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Computer supplies and equipment, it's up quite a lot.
For corrections, we have anywhere between 20 and 30 computers in our facility, and just like everybody else mentioned, we have a rotation, so we're doing like 5 or 6 computers this year, so we're just at that rotation.
It's just the cost.
Yeah, it's going to be an ongoing cost.
On the revenue line, is that like a continuing, the community corrections?
So,
that
do you want to explain this, or do you want me to explain it?
Go for it.
So this year, so what happened was last year ADP was a little on the low side. So our population was lower. There was less people going through the system. We still haven't figured out 100% how they come up with a formula to figure this out, but it definitely affected the revenue that we got this year. So we lost over $200,000 in revenue. And that's part of the reason, I'll say it, we're over the cap, is because we did lose that revenue. Looking ahead and seeing where the numbers are now, it looks like that we'll get back on track because the population's gone up. So just everybody knows the population now is between 60 and 70 right now. So we're going back up, and we're just seeing that trend. So that revenue will come back. I'm not sure if it's going to come back at the amount that we lost, but it will be increased.
Thank you.
We'll expand on that a little bit. So the County Commissioners Association and the Maine Sheriff Association are actively trying to work with the Department of Corrections to increase that supplemental funding. It is flat funded at $20 million and change, and like the captain mentioned, it is based off of population and a bunch of other things that the state has for formula. So, like I mentioned before in the first night, that hey, you did a great job reducing your population. Here's less money. Like I said, we're trying to fight to work on that, to make it more equitable. Not necessarily as a reduction in population mean that we don't need the money. As you all know, there are still certain costs that happen no matter what. You know, the lights got to be on, the heat's got to be on, those things. Even if we shut down a section, the way we're designed just isn't efficient enough to make any real significant difference. So we are actively trying to work with the Commissioner of Corrections, work with the Governor's office to try to figure out a better way to fund jails for what the state side really is. So there's some active discussions going on right now as they enter into this new budget year or biennium to work on that and hopefully get some legislation passed that will help that. The governor did issue some one-time funding last year. We were fortunately one of those recipients, so you will see that at some point. We're just not sure how it's going to reflect in how we move forward. One of the other items, if you looked at the summary page, you saw that we're looking at $300,000 that we want to pull out of undesignated fund balance. As we discussed last week, the max is 20% that the state says that we can keep. We want to take a gamble and use that $300,000 to offset. That's going to put us at about 15% of that undesignated fund balance, or around $700,000. As you all know, that could be just one heating unit, which is unfortunate, but because of all the work that's been done on a lot of those capital items, we feel that it is worth the gamble. We feel that we are going to be able to make the boiler another year or two. I know that was a hot topic we talked about last year with a big presentation of doing a kind of a lease purchase idea. With the loss of the county administrator and some other things, we felt that it was best just to table that, use this undesignated fund balance to offset, knowing that we may need that $700,000 to do something. We don't feel it's going to be necessarily, but we will still have that there. So that's where we would have offset with more to try to get this to the cap, but we feel that going less than 700 is going to be kind of more gamble than we're worth taking.
So again, and just to be clear, when your population goes down, that doesn't mean your staffing goes down with it, right?
Correct. So Department of Corrections also establishes what we must have for staffing. Though the design of our jail was modern at the time, it is extremely inefficient in today's standards. We are what they call a linear style jail. What that means is you have to physically check every inmate in every room, especially at night. Our population of 70 requires 7 staff people on site 24 hours to manage that. So that means if at any time we could be at 70, so if we have intakes, which means street arrests basically, we still have to have the staffing there. So even if the population is at 50, we still have to be able to accommodate up to 70. So we will run short on occasion, but he's going to call the state, get permission to get a variance to do that. And if anything changes, we're then have to call them again and get either more permission, or they say, nope, you're done with your permission, you've got to go back to this thing.
Thank you.
Great system. Okay. That's how we're doing. Anybody else have any questions? Well, We can take a straw vote if you guys want.
I'll move to accept the corrections budget as presented.
Okay, second?
Second.
All right, so one second. Anybody else have anything to say?
Do we have one person absent?
Yes. So you can step away. All those in favor? Okay, and one abstention.
And on the commission side, is there a motion to approve this budget? And I'll second it. I know you touched on it, and I didn't quite get it. When you were talking about the cap, how does this budget fit underneath the state mandated cap increase?
So we're going to be 144,000 change over that cap with what we have in this budget presented. So what the cap is I think it was 2002, the state realigned what it allowed the correctional facilities or the jails in the state to basically have a cap of their budgets. Most of us are finding that cap is no longer a cap. Unfortunately, it's becoming a base. As has been mentioned before, the significant amount of inflation, especially in the medical field. As you see, we went from a $390,000 budget pre-COVID to a $1.1 million budget post-COVID. These things were not anticipated at the time they rewrote the rule or rewrote the amount. So what happens is the cap number was set, and then the growth factor, which is a unique thing that I unfortunately learned all about this year. You can increase your budget by whatever that growth factor is every year. That growth factor changes based off town property valuation, personal income growth, a couple of things. That gives us a percentage we can increase those cap numbers. So the county budget also has it, but the correction budget has it as well. So corrections is a little more enforceable. LD1 changed a little bit, so on the county side it's a little more flexible, but for corrections it is not. We're not supposed to go over the cap. However, there is a clause that says if you do go over the cap, and you all vote to go over the cap, we can then petition the state every 4 years to change the cap to be more in line with what it should be. So my goal is to try to get us back to what the cap should be. We came pretty close this year, but not as close as I had hoped. So, but again, one of those cost drivers is personnel, and that's hard to deal with sometimes. So, and back to your point of how many corrections officers do we need? Well, we need at least 28 no matter what, because it's 4 7-person shifts. And we can never get below that unless we literally shut down portions of the jail, but then that reduces the population. So.
You need 7 on the weekends too, don't you?
7 all the time.
So, I don't know how that works. If you need 7, it means you have more people that only work on the weekends, or you vary the schedule?
No, so we have rotating 4 on, 3 off, 3 on, 4 off. Okay. So there's 4 shifts of 7 people, and they rotate.
So we'll be over the cap.
Yes.
Again this year, and we'll probably have to vote on that, even though we know that a number of counties don't bother to vote on that. They just accept it the way it is. But
technically, you should be voting on it separately to say, yes, you know you're going over, you're willing to go over, knowing that we may have to do some legislative sentiment to get it to vote.
And losing $200,000 in income from that sort of reimbursement from the state goes a long way to cover that.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, there was nothing we could have done to prevent that. I mean, we're trying to reduce population, trying to work on better ways to not have as many people in. Some of that was the judiciary, and there was not as many cases being tried, more people were given bail opportunities, but like we're experiencing, bail in particular, if you've probably seen the paper recently, a lot of people are either getting very high bails or no bail at all, and it's because of the crimes they're committing. And it's driving our population up. I'd say we're probably at 80 to 85% are pre-trial right now, or unbailable.
Thank you, and I'm glad to see that you stepped in to help
Actually, I thought Bob was doing a great job. I
It was.
I don't think Pat.
I don't know
say
if Bob
a word.
needed Pat to say
Yeah, well,
anything. Yeah.
It took both of us.
Yeah, I know that you've done, Sheriff, I know you've done a lot of work to try to understand that formula for the cap. So I just wanted to bring that out so you had an opportunity to show us how it all Thank you both. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
2 in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Well, last item of the day, and it's 7:25, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor? Yeah, now we adjourn.
This item will do, we adjourn, I'll second it, any discussion? Our next meeting is